Good evening to you on this Wednesday. I'm Tom Wallace, and welcome to Impeachment Wrap. Where does America stand? Our new web-only live show that wraps up everything you need to know about the latest in the impeachment process. Now, just a few moments ago, we saw a historic decision made in the House of Representatives on this impeachment vote. The House of Representatives has impeached a president of the United States. In a vote of 230 to 197, the House voted to impeach President Donald J. Trump on the charge of abuse of power, and on a vote of 229 to 198 on the charge of obstruction of Congress. Now, just hours before the vote, the American public was deadlocked over whether the president should be impeached and removed from office. That's according to a new national NBC News and Wall Street Journal poll. Now, the survey shows Americans exactly split 48% apiece over whether Mr. Trump deserves impeachment and removal, and predictably those feelings trend mostly along party lines, with 55% of Republicans saying the president has done nothing wrong at all. The results are essentially unchanged from a poll completed in late October. Now, the new poll finds, however, that more than half the country, 53%, approves of the impeachment inquiry being conducted. And the president's approval rating remains stuck in the low to mid 40s, where it's been most of the last 2 years. And 48% of the registered voters say they would be certain to vote against President Trump in the 2020 election. Now, you can view the methodology of the poll on our website, kget.com. And just last night, nationwide rallies were held as protesters called for President Trump's removal from office. Now, this is a look at a local rally at the Liberty Bell in downtown Bakersfield yesterday afternoon.
I believe that the GOP has been enabling a man to actually commit crime, to disregard our Constitution, and I'm seriously concerned with the future of our republic.
Now, we're keeping a close eye on how current congressmen voted on impeachment just a few moments ago, and to no surprise, those votes stayed along party lines.
Tonight, Donald J. Trump becoming the third American president to be impeached.
Article 1 is adopted.
The final vote split along party lines, nearly every Democrat voting for 2 articles of impeachment: abuse of power and obstruction of Congress.
What is at risk here is the very idea of America.
Every Republican voting against.
He is president today, he'll be president tomorrow, and he will be president when this impeachment is over.
Impeachment now a stain on President Trump's legacy. And as history unfolds in Washington, the president is in the swing state of Michigan, campaigning for a second term.
It doesn't really feel like we're being impeached, do you? The country is doing better than ever before. We did nothing wrong.
It's in sharp contrast to the fiery debate today on Capitol Hill.
The House will come to order. The House will come to order.
Republicans going down fighting, even as they knew Democrats had enough votes to impeach.
This impeachment is a slap in the face to the millions of Americans who voted for President Trump.
Democrats insisting the vote was their constitutional duty and that they're safeguarding democracy for the future.
When you see something that is not right, not just, not fair, you have a moral obligation to say something, to do something.
The final House vote now recorded in the history books, but the final say on conviction lands with the Republican-controlled Senate, eager to begin the next chapter. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Now, of course, we're keeping a close eye on how current congressmen voted on impeachment, and to no surprise, those votes stayed along party lines.
The House will be in order.
For just the third time in American history, the U.S. House of Representatives voted to impeach a president. But Bakersfield Republican Congressman and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy voted no.
Madam Speaker, I must warn you, I'm about to say something my Democratic colleagues hate to hear. Donald J. Trump is President of the United States. Speaker Pelosi even recently admitted that Democrats have been working on this impeachment for 2.5 years. Those were her words, they were not mine. Because they lost to him in 2016, they'll do anything or say anything to stop him in 2020.
Hey, morning.
But Democratic Congressman T.J. Cox of the 21st Congressional District voted in favor of impeachment. While he did not speak on the House floor Wednesday, he did send this statement to 17 News. It reads in part, quote, "Our president abused his power and used your taxpayer money to advance his own personal interest, and when Congress fulfilled its duty to investigate, the president acted as if he were above the law, obstructing the investigation by withholding witnesses and subpoena documents. Both of those actions violate our sacred Constitution, which only identifies one remedy for Congress to hold the president accountable. In obeying that solemn duty to my constituents and the Constitution, it is my responsibility to cast votes in favor of both articles of impeachment for abuse of power and for obstruction of Congress."
Yes, I think the president should be impeached.
Yvette Flores is the 17 News Democratic political analyst.
Impeachment at the end of the day is Congress's ability to bring forth evidence that could lead them to the truth. And that is exactly what Congress is trying to do right now. They're trying to figure out what is the truth, has he committed crimes, and as the American people, we have seen that he has already.
But 17 News Republican analyst Kathy Abernathy says the president did not commit an impeachable offense, arguing Democrats are impeaching the president for political gain.
People need to question. They need to question every congressman that voted for this, including locally T.J. Cox. Is this what you got elected for? The media and the Democrats want the word impeachment on the news every night from now till November 3rd. So get used to it, folks. This is what these people do when they get control of the House of Representatives. They're thinking about political gain, not what's best for the American taxpayer.
We take a look now at some of the reaction after this historic vote.
Nancy Pelosi and the House Democrats are having their say tonight. But the Republican Senate is going to have their say in January. And I know that here in Michigan and all across America, voters will remember in November.
It's a conclusion in search of evidence, isn't it? It's a conclusion in search of evidence. And so nobody's fine with somebody who should not be impeached, who did not commit high crimes and misdemeanors for being impeached. But as Moon is fine in that today is just an add water and stir kind of day. They were coming to this for a long time, and I think that's also why, I don't know, they're not particularly joyful and gleeful. It may be the hard left who pushed a lot of them from rational to ridiculous by showing up at their town hall meetings this past August and demanding that they impeach Donald Trump. Get him out of there, get him out of there, you promised. If I were a 2020 Democrat, I'd be hopping mad. They can't get a word in edgewise. They're having a debate tomorrow. Does anybody notice or care?
Now, to put today's events into perspective, President Trump appears is only the third president in history to be impeached. Now, President Clinton was impeached for lying under oath during a sex scandal, and the first president to be impeached was Andrew Johnson. Now, Johnson lived before and after his presidency in Greenville, Tennessee. Visitors learn about him at the Andrew Johnson National Historic Site. Many of the decisions and policies made during his presidency still impact the country today. Now, his impeachment happened after the Civil War. President Johnson and Congress were unable to agree on a plan for restoring the ravaged country following the war.
During the end of the war there and Reconstruction, he had angered many in the Congress with vetoing bills that they had passed, with restoring rights to former Confederate leaders and landholders, and eventually he violated what was known as the Tenure of Office Act.
Now, Johnson did that by removing his war secretary without the required consent of Congress. Now, Congress voted to impeach Johnson, and he was tried in the Senate and was found not guilty, just one vote shy of the 2/3 majority needed to convict. So Johnson stayed in office, and most political observers believe President Trump will be acquitted and stay in office as well. So, the impeachment process now goes to the Senate, where a trial will take place in January. At least 67 senators will need to vote in favor for the president to be removed from office. That's all for tonight's episode of Impeachment Wrap. Where does America stand? Thank you so much for joining us. For everyone at Circle 17, I'm Eitan Wallace, and we wish you a very great night.